Hi, it's Melissa from Special Ed Law Mom. I've been wanting to do this video all day. I'm supposed to be feeding my family dinner, but I wanted to come on and do this really quickly while I still could. So, as I've told you before, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and I'm seeing some questions in there that might be helpful for you. So, some of the things that I'm seeing people ask about is my child was not eligible for an IEP because they make good grades. If you're not familiar, uh, child finds in IDEA requires that schools look for children that have suspected disabilities. Those disabilities can be academic. They also can be functional, performance based, and developmental. And if you go to 34 CFR 300.301, if you haven't watched any of my other videos or haven't bought it yet, this is my Bible. I joke that it's my Bible. Special Ed Law by Pete Wright, one of the best things I invested in 20 years ago for my kids. I've pulled it out in IEP meetings. I've helped other attorneys by using it. It's a great book, and there's links down below. And you can also find it on eBay if it's available there. So in that book on page 240, it talks about evaluations and reevaluations. Initial evaluations have to happen within 60 days of you giving consent. I have a video on that you need to sign a form to start that clock. Otherwise, schools are notorious for letting that 60 days turn into an entire school year. So watch that video if you haven't seen it. But in here, it talks about evaluations, both the initial evaluation for a student and the reevaluation that happens if they're determining if the child is still eligible for special ed, or every 3 years at a triennial review that they do. And it specifically talks about functional, academic, developmental. It's not just based on grades. You can have kids that, are honor students that don't know how to interact in society. I know of a situation where a student um, was an honor student, but they struggled in other areas and they qualified actually for a post high program. So there's a lot of things to read in here about that, but the key takeaways are academic performance, while great, doesn't mean that there's not a disability. Another thing that I recently saw online was a couple of moms were talking about, well, my student needs vision therapy, but the school says it's not an educational need because it doesn't impact their education. How in the world could a student who struggles with vision not impact their education? We communicate in so many ways through vision. We learn visually through reading and learning how to write and watching a teacher and looking at the chalkboard or the whiteboard. Um, I don't know how a student that needs visual therapy would not have an impact to their education. That was just ridiculous to me. Another one that I heard was my student didn't qualify even though they have central auditory processing disorder. If you can't process the information that's given to you to learn, how can you learn? I mean, these are such basic things. You can't just stick a kid in a room and by osmosis they learn everything. They have to use their eyes, they have to use their ears. They have to be able to communicate. If you have a student that can't talk or struggles with talking, they can't express themselves, they can't tell you if they've learned something. So how any of this could not impact their education is beyond me. And if you are in that situation and you're getting the runaround from the school saying, well, that's a medical need, not an educational need, you just contact me because I would love to help you with that. In the provision that I was talking about, 300.301, It talks about they cannot use a single criterion test to determine if there is a disability or a need. And it also has to be sufficiently comprehensive to determine if there is a need. So, to give you an example, I have a child that was struggling with reading, still is having some struggles, and we had requested vision testing. Not just can she read this chart like when you go to the optometrist, but does she need vision therapy? Is she seeing things as she should? Um, I don't remember how they got out of doing that with us, but I do know that we went years later, that of course she needed to have it done. And we did an intensive program for her in order to help her. Now, was it in time? Would it have benefited her better if we had done it earlier? I'm sure it would have. Um, but I can't imagine how that impacted her educationally all those years with needing to have vision therapy. And the school may not have vision therapy evaluations that they can do. They're not they don't have every type of specialist that you would need. That's why we have a medical community. That's why we have evaluations that way. And if they can't do it or they don't do a sufficiently comprehensive evaluation, you request for an independent evaluation at their expense to make sure you get that done. And I have a video on that. If you haven't seen that, check that out. You can get them to pay for it. You need to give them the first bite of the apple of doing that evaluation. And then if it's not sufficiently comprehensive, as it says in 34 CFR 300.301, guess what? You can pull that trigger on that independent evaluation at their expense. And they either have to file due process to defend the evaluation that they have, or they have to pay for it. Considering that due process can cost anywhere from $25,000 plus, and a private evaluation might cost them a couple grand, they'll probably go the couple grand route. But I am a nationwide advocate. I would love to help you. I would love to do a review of your student records. Right now, I have a video where I explain how I'm doing summer reviews of records. Um, Initial offering on that was 250, but if you sign up with me, I will happily do that for 150 at this time. And then we will have a full review of your student IEP with their evaluations and whatnot. You can watch the video on that. And you'll be prepared in the fall when you go back to school to go in and know if your students' needs are being met according to what's been identified, or if there's things that still need to be identified or that have been identified that are not being addressed. So I would love to help you with that. Again, Nationwide Advocate, reach out to me at specialeducationlawmom@gmail.com. Leave a comment down below, like, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to hear about. And until next time, make it a great day. Thanks. Bye.